Hello, welcome back. In this section we're going to be looking at filters and adjustments. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to open up just which one, this one or this one? I'm going to go for this speech one, okay? Now, first and foremost we're going to look at color adjustments, okay? So adjusting the look of an image. So we've got our image in here. I'm going to duplicate it by dragging it down to the new layer icon. So we've got an unaffected version at the bottom, okay, this background. Now, the first technique I'm going to show you is curves. So I'm going to rename this to curves, okay? This is the one which people actually tend to struggle with sometimes. So tell you what, I'm not going to start with it. I'm going to start with brightness and contrast, a nice simple one. So with this layer selected, I'm going to go up to image, adjustments, and I'm going to click brightness and contrast. You get this little gizmo then, so you can alter the brightness of the image. Maybe let's have it around there. And you can also alter the contrast, how much each area contrasts with each other. And I'm going to take that to about -19. You can untick the preview and retick it, see what results you're getting. And let's just go with that one, click OK. So now if I turn this B and C, brightness contrast, on and off, you can see the difference we've got. Our original is still at the bottom, so we've still got an unaffected one, and that's important. You always want an original, just in case you think, actually, I prefer that, I want to start again. Okay, cool. Brightness and contrast covered. Nice and quick. I'm going to duplicate this background again, move this to the top, and then we're going to go for, let's go for exposure this time. Exposure. So this one's very similar, it just works a little bit more how cameras work, if you get me. So let's go with image, adjustment, and where are we? Exposure. So you've got exposure in here. So you can kind of bring exposure down or up to you. It kind of works. Brightness and contrast uses different algorithms to how this kind of works. Right, so let's say we go, just bring it down, make it dark a bit for whatever reason. You've then got this offset you can play with as well. And I'm going to keep that at 0. Let's just type in there 0. And you've got gamma correction as well, kind of those mid-tones. Really, I don't play with this one that much at all. Don't often use this. Sometimes with an overcast sky I might use it. Actually, that makes it a bit flatter, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I prefer it without, to be honest, but I'm just going to put it on anyway. Maybe let's make it pop a little bit more, so let's bring exposure. Oh, it's tricky using this graphics tablet, the pen, it's annoying me. There you go, pops a little more then. Okay, so that's exposure. Let's go to background, duplicate that again, just so I can kind of show you the other ones. We've got, next is hue and saturation. So we'll go image, adjustments, hue and saturation. Okay, if we alter the hue, this mixes all the colours up. So if we click and drag it, you can see it kind of changes, just pushes that colour wheel around, and it makes it a little bit weird. So we've got very, very red sand and green ocean now. I'm going to put that back to 0 because it doesn't really do anything for me. You've got saturation then, so you can make it more saturated. That's a bit crazy. Maybe leave it around there, or you can take some of the colour out. Maybe yeah, something like that. That looks nice. Then you've got lightness, so, and you can, it's like kind of brightness, really, lightness. But so let's hit 0. Let's reset this. So let's put this back to 0 as well. If we hit colorize, it gives us, the hue goes back to red, and it basically colorizes the whole picture. So we can make it green if you want to, or you can go for a nice sepia kind of thing. So maybe increase the saturation a little bit, lightness a little bit. You can get a nice sepia kind of look with this one. And turn preview on and off to see what we got. There we go, so I'll click OK. Let's rename this to Hue and Sat 1. And get that background copy. We're going to use hue and saturation again, but we're not going to use, so image adjustments, we're not going to use colorize this time, just so we can kind of see different outcomes. So saturation up, maybe lightness up just a touch, And you can, this is doing currently to the master, but you can do it to individual colours. So if we go into the cyans, which will be the kind of ocean by here, we can really saturate the cyans or desaturate them. Let's desaturate just the cyans, and we'll do the same to the blues, just in case it's missed any bits. So desaturate these blues. What colour is this then? It's probably a green. Greens, let's desaturate them. Yeah, so you see, yes, green. Desaturate that completely. So the only bit left with colour will be the yellows, reds, and yeah, let's do the magentas as well because we don't want any magenta in there. So we're just leaving the reds and yellows, which is the sand bit. So that's quite a nice effect. So we'll go back to the master and just overall make it more saturated. Click OK. So we've got, let's turn all these off. We've kind of made the beach more saturated. Looks like there's a harbour in a sense. And we've taken all the colour out of the shadows over here and the ocean. Nice little effect. So let's go Hue and Sat 2. And again, let's duplicate this background. Let's have another go. This time we're going to look at levels. So image adjustment levels. This is again similar to brightness and contrast really, but you've got basically your darks by here, your brights by here, and your midtones by here. So shadows, you can kind of push them a little bit more, make them more vivid. Your highlights, we might make them a little bit more brighter, maybe the white of that foam, but you don't want to do it too much. Then you got your midtones, you can kind of strengthen it. So if we turn preview on and off, you can see we've made it pop a little bit more. It's quite contrasty now. You've also got your output levels, so the blacks, if we want all the blacks, which is kind of the darkest bits probably here, if we want them to be quite grey, we can push this up, and basically the darkest point comes in quite grey. We can do the same for the highlights as well, but I don't often do that. Anyway, you can also do it to the reds, to the greens and the blues. So let's have a look at the blues. Maybe we play around with that. If you add more, it goes more blue, or take some of it out. We won't go into color channels right now, so let's reset this. Yeah, there we go. We'll do that in curves. So I'm going to click OK, and this is the difference we got with that one. Quite subtle, but it does make it pop more. So levels, and the final one I'm going to go through, no, there's two more actually, is curves first. So no, we're not going to do it that way. Jumping ahead of the game there. That's another lesson. Duplicate this and rename it curves. That was the one I was doing, wasn't it? There you go. It's 20 to 12. It's quite late. Please forgive me. Image. Just why is that? I haven't selected the layer. Make sure you select the layer. As I said, it's getting quite late. Image, adjustments, and curves. Now within here, it's very similar to levels. You know, you still got that graph. These are the shadows, these are the highlights, but you can kind of grade it on a curve. So you can kind of, you know, you've got a lot more control in here. So you've added that kind of, just by dipping the shadows a little bit and increasing the highlights a little bit. Where's the preview? We're adding contrast. Now you can do this for each color. So let's say we want to go into the reds and we want to add more reds in there. We'll just bring the midtones up and make it more red, make it more vibrant. You can also go into the shadow reds, which is probably going to be kind of just in here, and you can kind of increase them, increase the reds and the shadows, which is happening here, but it's also happening here as well, but it doesn't matter. And then shadows, the highlight reds, but let's go into the greens. Let's take some of that green out, see what we get. That's too much, definitely too much, just a smidge like there. And let's see what happens if we take some blue out. It'll go very yellow. Yeah, it looks like a very, very warm summer's day. But anyway, just have a play around. You can come back to the RGB and then just play with some more. Click OK. So we got some curved stuff going on here. Okay, so we still got our original at the bottom, which is good, because we need to do one more. So let's go, yeah, drag to new, drag us to the top, and we'll rename this B and W, so black and white. Now obviously there's a couple ways to do black and white in here. You can either go to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation like we already have, and just take saturation out. It's black and white now. Or you can go Image, Adjustments, where is it? It's called black and white and I can't see it. You're going to be pointing out, there it is, black and white. And within here it's quite nice, you can do it to each individual colour channel, so we can make the reds really white if we wanted to. We can do it per colour. Now with the yellows we can control that. There's not a lot of green, actually it's green in the sea, so we can make the sea quite dark if we wanted to, and then the beach quite bright if we wanted to. It just gives you more control in here, or we can do auto and it kind of just does that. Okay, so we've got black and white there. Excellent. So we've got loads of different things going on here. Now, this lesson was just kind of an illustration. I want to get you playing around with all these different ones. Go into Image and Adjustments. Remember to duplicate the layers. There is a way, if you want to apply 5 or 6 adjustments to a single one, to a single layer, there is a way. I'm going to show you that in the next one. A more advanced, a more professional way of applying these adjustments to images, and that's through adjustment layers, because it's nice, quick and dirty going up to image adjustments. But let's say you didn't have a background copy and you've got it to a point where you're like, actually I want to start again. Once you've applied, so let's put this as an example, let's use a background. Let's say we haven't duplicated it and we've gone, okay, adjustments, first of all I'm going to do levels, I'm going to chuck that there, chuck that there, I'm going to do that, click OK. Now I'm going to go, let's say for example, Hue and Saturation, I'm going to saturate it a lot. Okay, cool, now I'm going to go select it. Now I'm going to go image, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go vibrance. This is one I haven't shown you, just makes it more vibrant. It's like the Hue and Saturation again. I'll chuck that up, click OK. Maybe you're now thinking, actually, when I use levels at first, I want to go back and undo it. Well, I can't without undoing everything else. So I'm going to show you, that's quite a destructive way of working, because if you wanted to undo something, a colour adjustment you did 7 moves ago, talking like chess now, if you wanted to, 7 actions ago you wanted to undo, you can't unless you undo everything else. So I'm going to show you a way of getting around that. This was just a way of me illustrating to you kind of the different kind of colour adjustment techniques you can use. And obviously you can do more than one on a layer. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you a nicer, better, more professional way of using adjustment layers. So I'll see you in the next session.